All right, we are live. What is your caffeine intake today? I've hit my limit.
I have too, but I'm like not even here. I have too, but what is this earphone either? What is going on?
Well, I mean, this is why I was going to make sure before we got going that we're like fully locked in
we're
and
all
loaded.
season protocols.
It's not yet, dude. Not yet. I mean, we still got exit.
Are you sure?
We got exit. I mean, am I planning for off-season protocols? Have I already started texting people about things like the Triangle Good 25 or whatever we're going to call it? Have I already reached out to Webb Wellman to talk about the history of the Hoops mixtape so we can get some Ryan Harrow? Where were you when Seventh Woods dropped that mixtape? Like all that kind of stuff. Trust me, the protocols are about to happen. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I
say we shoot for the moon and try to get Ryan Harrow on this program.
Hope his dog's still with us. Remember when he posted that?
Yeah.
That was good old bubble guts. Good old bubble guts. So, got guy Damien in the chat. Is that a Cuban flag I see? Let's freaking go. Got a sports phone call from hey.
Oh, and the hat.
American made with the finest Cuban parts, according to my dad. Now we got a call from a 305. Like we had a couple 305 calls last night, so I thought that was kind of amusing. Anyway, let's ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios. I feel like we haven't been inside Eford Studios at all this week.
Trust me. I'm nowhere near my routine.
I know our routines are completely shot thanks to the Carolina Hurricanes. No, but big thanks to Empire Properties, and of course, big thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management, get everything you need to the cloud. Be a more efficient. You got major I'm tired ADHD going today, by the way. That looks good.
It does look good.
The Roback. If you're watching on YouTube, we're going to have a one-off Roback that you can pre-order. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about Roback. But it is just past 2:00. We are live on YouTube once again. We've been living live on YouTube as of late, thanks to the Carolina Hurricanes. And of course, when we're live on Thursdays, it's brought to you by The Butcher's Market. Check them out, thebutchersmarkets.com. Get all the hot dogs you could ever want. No, Joe's off the hot dogs. He's all in that salmon now.
Salmon.
Did you overdo it on salmon?
No, not yet. It's delicious.
Okay, good.
They're the filet steak ones. You know what I mean? Like it's the center cut, I guess.
Honestly, given how I've been eating as of late, I might have to go our Blue Wire colleague, Cam Newton, and go full pescatarian.
There you go.
Because, buddy, I've been eating. It's been beige food central for me. That's how I've been living. Anyway, Ryan Didoshak is going to join us. Hot Garbage Sports from YouTube. He's going to join us in about 15 minutes or so to discuss the key differences between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers. Let's start with, now that we've had a chance to sleep on it, or in my case, about 4 hours of sleep before the alarm went off and the carpool duties kicked in. Now that we've had a chance to sleep on the end of the Carolina Hurricane season, I wanted to bring up this piece of audio from head coach Rod Brind'Amour in the postgame last night. We kind of talked about the totality of the year because I think this is important context. I'm going to relay a story of a conversation that Giglio and I had about 5 minutes before I went live on YouTube.
Rod, given all the turnover in the offseason and all the changes, how do you measure the disappointment of falling short with the achievement of getting to this stage?
Thank you. Everybody seems to like, it's the craziest thing that we're this far, and it's all we're hearing is negativity from everybody. And it's when I walked this summer and with the pieces that were left this organization, I was like, I don't think we're making playoffs. I was that worried about it because it was such a mass exodus of good players to free agency. And then we were able to find good players to fill in. And then I was like, I don't know if they're that good, but they hung in there. So I got nothing but pride with this group. And, you know, yeah, we didn't love how this kind of went this series. But, again, that's the standard right there. You're not giving Florida enough credit.
So that was Rod Brind'Amour after the game. Our guy, Josh Graham, asking him that question.
Point to the passer. I thought Josh framed that really nicely.
Yeah. And it's something that we've tried to frame the last week or two in relation to them getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. and moving of goalposts, right?
Well, I'm slightly mad though that Rod gave that type of answer on the podium because that's what was coming from us.
I'm sure we can get
And-
something else.
But last summer, when he said to us, "We got worse," that's what he meant. That's what he meant, and he
Mhm.
didn't go as far as to say, "I don't think we're going to make the playoffs." But you could read his face there in that post game, and you can go back and watch that episode from Invisalign Arena, and you could see in his face, Rod's very expressive. You can see it, and sometimes it takes a half a step back, like you said, a night to sleep on it to say,
Mhm.
all right, well, what was this year? What were, the ups and downs and the in-betweens and all of everything else? I mean, it was a wild Tarantino-esque year that the Carolina Hurricanes packed into the 2024-25 NHL season.
If I told you that at a certain point this year, the Carolina Hurricanes goalie tandem would be Spencer Martin and Tokarski, what would you think?
Boy, they were really screwed.
Right.
Yeah.
So they dealt with injuries. They dealt with an ever-changing roster from how Rod talked about, I didn't think we were a playoff team in the offseason.
Heck, go back the first month of the season. Marty Necas was the leading scorer in the NHL.
Yes.
If I would have told you that, you'd have been like,
What the hell are you talking about?
what happened?
Not based on things that we had seen out of Marty Necas before that. And we've referenced this before, but I don't think we fully processed just how wild of a regular season it was. And for a team and a coach that has made his bones as a coach about consistency, a particular level of effort, night in, night out, playing a process and losing a game, but being happy with the way that you played, all those types of things. To have all of that thrown at you in a very disruptive season to get to this point is pretty impressive in and of itself. I don't like the zero-sum game that we play oftentimes with sports, where if you didn't win the ultimate championship, well, then the season was a failure. That doesn't work every single time. There are other seasons you can point to under the Rod Brind'Amour tenure that you can go, yeah, man, you should have gone further than that. I mean, last year's a good example of that. You should not have. What happened against the Rangers is not something that team was supposed to go through. But this team, they weren't picked to beat the Devils in the first round. They weren't picked to beat. This is outside of Vegas. Let's get away from the Vegas stuff. When you look at all the pundits, when you look at ESPN, who you expect to win the series, all that kind of stuff. For the most part, the Canes were not picked to win those series, both New Jersey and Washington. And then now you go up in the Eastern Conference Finals against a Florida Panthers team that is an all-time NHL heater going to their third straight Stanley Cup playoffs. They have sold out for this window of time, made power moves to bring guys like Brad Marchand in right before they have to throw all the money at a guy like Sam Bennett, who just about anybody would want at this point. So the Panthers are striking in a point where you wish you were, but the Canes were not in this position this year. Two totally different teams going into the season. And the fact that they met in the Eastern Conference Finals is impressive enough. And the better team won. And there's no fault or shame for the Carolina Hurricanes getting to this point. They won a game, so you give a pat on the head on that one. Obviously, you don't want games 1 and 2 to be, or especially game 3 to be as embarrassing as they were. But again, I get back to the point of they weren't even supposed to be here. Go full Clerks on you. Go full Clerks. We weren't even supposed to be here today. So it is it's a tough push and pull of how you. I'm not saying it's an easy discussion. I'm simply saying it's a tough push and pull to reconcile, to square what this year was about.
Yeah, I mean, you're about to tell us in this offseason there's a lot to get into on the OG.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to get into with the Hurricanes and what they went through this year. From the Necas reconciliation project, from the defensive, they got worse on defense. The two guys they lost on defense, and Brady Shea and Brett Pesce. That was a stomach punch. If you don't believe me, just look at the way that Pesce and Brind'Amour embraced at the end of the Hurricanes eliminating the Devils from the playoffs this year. There's an emotional connection there for Rod because of the way that he feels it, and then he feels it deep, right? You mentioned the goalie situation. They didn't have Freddie for most of this year with a knee injury, and I think Luke Takaka has done a great job of pointing out this. The Hurricanes feel like this is the one surgery that may finally be the magical elixir for Freddie Anderson. Going back to that trade deadline when they made the move for Mikko Rantanen, most people were impressed, as was I.
Yeah.
But my question for Eric Tulsky was, is your goaltending good enough to win the Stanley Cup?
I thought Freddie Anderson was good enough.
I thought that's one thing you can look at now and say, okay. And I thought they made a mistake. I thought they were making a mistake by going back to the Freddie Well with the contract extension before the playoffs. He proved that to be a smart move. And even if it's only for one more year, the way that Kochetkov struggled this year, he did.
He did.
In the playoffs, though, we saw the best version of him.
Yeah, he stepped in when he needed.
Which is important for him moving forward as well.
Yes.
You know, I mentioned the defense. To me, that was the biggest problem for this team as the year went on. During the regular season, Brent Burns and Dmitry Orlov were a problem. Straight up. They were older. They were slower. They were loose with the puck. They were not playing the way that the Canes needed them to play during the regular season. The playoffs started. I thought Orlov found a different switch. Sometimes that happens with a veteran player, especially one like Orlov, who does have their name on the cup. I do think it helped him that he had the series against Washington, his former team. I thought he was good against Washington. You get to that last round there with Florida. He was obviously a minus. He was obviously a problem.
But he also had some spots where he was okay.
He had some shifts.
Spots.
There really was nothing in between, I think, was as someone pointed out. It was like he either made like this amazing play or he was terrible.
I mean, you could say the same thing about Burns.
So I think during the playoffs, that's the number one spot you have to look at now. This was a team that was built through their defense. And now you're looking at it and you're going, no, it used to be you had two pairings you could throw out there and feel you feel some kind of way in your loins. You know what I mean?
Not this year.
Not this year.
Not this year.
And it was like 1.5.
Yeah.
Because it was really just it was a half. It wasn't 1.5.
Well, what did
It was
Jacob,
a half.
What
It
did
was
Jacob,
Slavin.
What did Jacob Slavin play in game 4 with like 28 minutes?
Like you can't ask Jacob Slavin
No.
to carry the 40-year-old Brent Burns. And I've heard some people say that they think the way that Burns fits in their culture, the way that he works, all these other things, that they could potentially bring him back on a discounted rate, play him on a different pairing. I don't know about all that.
I don't know about that.
I think you're misremembering the regular season now.
Yeah.
And that's the big move for me, because while there's a shinier objects in free agency, Mitch Marner, Bennett, whoever else, I feel like they have to figure out that defensive formula. Because remember in 23, they get to the conference finals. They played Florida. I would think we would all agree in all 4 of those games, they played Florida better than they did in this series.
Agree.
But they were swept. People forget that Andrei Svechnikov didn't play in that series. Okay, that was also the year they were supposed to have Max Pacioretty. Was hurt.
Got hurt.
Did not play. So you're missing 2 of your top 6 forwards. What I'm getting at is the defense then was good enough to win the Stanley Cup.
Defense was not good enough this time.
The defense this time was not. And their succession plan was Nikishin and Morrow. I think Nikishin you put in on day 1 and you let that guy turn into an all-star, and you're on your way. You ride a rocket on that guy. Morrow, you don't throw in the trash, but I don't think he's ready to be one of your regular defensemen.
Clearly not.
Because it takes time for defensemen.
Yeah.
It does.
But that's what this year was always going to be. Let's also not misremember.
And that's why I say let's focus on the defensive.
Yes.
The defensive erosion, because they were the best in the league on defense, and now they're more of like a top 10 team in the league.
There was a drop off, and the most important aspect of all of this is the fact that the Canes knew they weren't trying to.
They willingly got worse.
They willingly understood.
2 years ago, they knew this.
We have to do this because we know that we have to get ready for the future.
Yes.
Of what that defense is going to look like. They made a decision. They're banking on that.
When they traded for Brent Burns, signed Dmitry Orlov, they made a conscious decision that that's what their defense was going to go through a transitionary period this year. To Rod's point, they were able to overcome most of that. But if you really make a hard look at those 82 games, those 2 players in particular, Burns and Orlov, were problematic over the course of the regular season.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to.
I think Burns played his best against Florida. He did. He was not good in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, though.
All right, let's get to the other thing that came out of last night. Now that we have a little bit more context, the handshake, the awkward handshake, the feisty handshake, the cold handshake between.
Did we get John Boy on this, or was it just we just got Mo?
No,
we just skipped right to Mo.
We just get right to Mo. So for those who might have missed it, because I missed it, I was focused getting ready for the After Dark last night. Here is Paul Maurice. Let me turn off the audio here. Here's Paul Maurice and Rod Brind'Amour, right? Let's go back to here. Like, this is clearly a situation where if you go back and you look at this, I'm going to go John Boy here.
Yeah.
Clearly, Rod's just shaking his hand, man. Like, hey, what's up? Cool. Like, good game, whatever. But Paul clearly has something he's ready to say. So he stops him, and that's when Rod's like, oh, okay, here we go. And what's being discussed here, as we come to find out after the fact, is that Paul Maurice has strong feelings about coaches in the handshake line.
Right.
Rod will go into the handshake line. That's how else do we get that Brett Pesce moment, right?
Yeah.
So they continue on, and Paul's, doing his thing. And if there's one thing I would say about Paul sometimes, he gets a little too in his own head about how cerebral he is about a lot of things. And I get he has his opinion, but sometimes your opinion is your opinion. You don't have to put that opinion on somebody else. So here is Paul Maurice after the game, where he explains the handshake line.
Hey, Paul, two quick ones. It seemed like you and Rod had an animated discussion at the end of the game. Was that just about the handshake line?
Yeah, that's all it was.
Okay.
And it's a personal belief, and I really appreciate what he did because I understand the risk that there's a bit of a risk. So the story goes like this. I don't believe that the coaches should shake players' hands at the end. There's this long list of people in suits and tracksuits. I mean, we had like 400 people on the ice. They're all really important to our group, but not one of them was in the game. There's something for me visually with the camera on of just the men who played, who blocked shots, who fought for each other. It's the end of one season. It's excitement for the other. The last thing that a player on the Carolina Hurricanes deserves is 50 more guys in suits they have. They have no idea who they are. And that's not a negative. There should be something really kind of beautiful about just the camera on those men who played shaking hands. And we should respect that. So we talked to Craig Berube on the ice in Toronto, and I figured if I could sell it in Toronto, and he understood it because he's played and Roddy's played, so they both kind of get it. I don't know where it changed. When I first got in the league, you would never go shake the players. Now, some coach wanted to get on camera. Is the only thing I can figure out, right? And there's I don't know, maybe you want to shake Wayne Gretzky's hand or something. I don't know when it changed, but I don't think it's right. I think there's a really nice, kind of beautiful part of our game when just the players shake hands at the end. When you think of all the wars, that's not the right word.
Okay. Paul, at that point, I'm just like, oh, okay, Paul, now you're in your own bag here. I see where you're going with this. A couple things about this. I understand where Paul Maurice is coming from on this particular topic. I truly understand where he's coming from. But this man just gave a press conference about context. Remember, he went viral because he talked about, well, you shotgun a beer, you go to church, but you're not going to shotgun a beer in church, right? So the man understands context. So if you're so on top of your own context, what makes you think that that's the moment to make that point to Rod Brind'Amour? That's a conversation you could have had at some point in time as the series was going in a particular way. That's a conversation you might have had back in 2023, for all I know.
Sure.
The point is, there's a time and place, just like Paul Maurice said it himself. There's a time and place for things. I don't think that was the time and place for it. He's focused on, well, the camera should be on the players after the wars they just went through. Well, you know what you did by deciding to make that point right then and there? Guess where the cameras were? The cameras were trained on you lecturing Brind'Amour on what to do in the handshake line.
There was some Coach K energy there.
Oh, trust me. As much as we've talked about Coach K stuff, I'm surprised that there wasn't an ass slap on the way out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I have a problem with that particular context. Number one. The other thing that I have an issue with is I don't know when this changed. Buddy, shit changes.
Yeah.
Just because things were like that 20 years ago doesn't mean that things don't evolve and there's a little bit different aspect of sportsmanship. Also, aren't we being a little too much with 50 guys in tracksuits? We're talking about coaches. You are just as involved in the game. You challenge plays. You had an incredible set play out of a face-off that resulted in a goal. Who did that? Did Sam Bennett do that? I'm pretty sure the coaching staff did that. So I don't really like, the coaches are part of the game too. They're just as involved in these situations. So I think the coaches are perfectly fine to get in the handshake line. I get his point about the 50 trainers. Also, if it's about the players, name's on the cup, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is Paul's name on the cup?
It is.
It's not just players on the cup?
No.
I'm just trying to follow the logic here.
Yeah.
Mr. Cerebral Logic Man, Paul Maurice, is trying to just wow you with all his very measured conversation about things and how I feel the players should deserve all these
You don't
things.
like the NPR tone. I know that.
Oh, it drives me fucking insane when he goes full NPR because, I'm just understanding.
You
what's
don't like it
going
when
on here.
anybody goes NPR, though.
No, dude.
In fairness.
Your name's on the cup, right? Okay, I'm just double checking. I just want to make that clear. Anyway, I just wanted to get that off my chest. I get Paul's point. I don't like when he decided to do it.
Sure. Fair.
Straight up.
Housekeeping.
It's brought to you by Inovana. Check them out online at inovana.com. Green cleaning solution.
If you have messes at your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Inovana.
We have a breaking t-shirt right here that got some prime time behind Rod Brind'Amour last night. Keep Carolina hockey boring. You can get it right now at breakingt.com. breakingt.com/OG is where you can find our shirts. But if you go to the Cane section, you will find shirts like this. Like whoever this person is, shout outs to you. Prime location right behind Brind'Amour. Keep Carolina hockey boring. Thank you for your support of a shirt that we help put together. So go to breakingt.com/BOG. Sports Podcast Festival is peak off-season protocols. We got Split Zone Duo code. Split Zone. I can't even talk. I'm so tired. Split Zone Duo is coming to town. Big Screen Sports will be there. It's going to be a good time. You can get your tickets right now at therialto.com. Joe's rocking his rowback. He kind of alluded to it at the beginning of this thing. We are going to have another limited run of rowback polos with the
It was our
OG.
first time with a polo.
It's the first time with the. Oh, that's right. We
Yes.
did hoodies. We did
We've
hoodies
done-
last time.
We've done hoodies. We've done zips. We've never done a polo.
So we're going to do a limited run of rowback polos that you're going to have to pre-order. We'll have. Do you have the information?
Random question for you.
Yeah.
Now someone's
Josh
playing
Goodson
golf.
just did something. Did you
Um,
get it? Well, hold up. Did you get a notification that Josh Goodson's golfing?
when you have 18 birdies, the people who are in your birdie group.
Okay,
will-
that's sicko stuff.
okay. So I don't even know what my question. Oh, what color would you put the owl on? Because I want to do a drunk owl.
I would put on a black polo.
Black.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would do that.
That's someone who does not play golf right there.
I'm a black polo guy anyway.
Okay.
We got to talk to Ryan here. So
Yeah, I'm ready.
let's run through this.
Just
So
asking you.
go to rowback.com, use that promo code OG20. We'll have more information on how you can get in on that pre-order. Big thanks to Matt Davis over at State Farm, insuregarner.com, insuregarner.com, 919-779-8277. You just spent a lot of money on the playoffs. You have to find ways to save money to make up for it, right? Save on your home and auto. Tell Matt Davis, dude, have you seen parking? I need to save money. He's going to help you out on that. So contact Matt Davis at 919-779-8277. Speaking of saving money, use your home, the biggest asset you have, to consolidate your debt with a lower interest rate that's way lower than the credit cards that you probably used to buy a bunch of Hurricanes tickets. So now you got to consolidate that debt. Contact MillerLending.com. MillerLending.com/TOG is our landing page. You can call them directly at 919-447-3377. Start the conversation today and find out how you can save money in major ways without paying closing costs. That is clutch. And of course, our friends at Longleaf Swine, I'm pretty sure they still have OG Light at Longleaf
No, they
Swine.
do.
So head on over, get yourself a 16-ounce Longleaf Swine, 16-ounce OG Light. Get the barbecue, get the smash burger, and have yourself a fantastic weekend. It's all at longleafswine.com. We thank them for being an OG corporate champion. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, Hot Garbage Sports is the YouTube channel. He is Ryan Didoshak. He is a Winnipeg AAA hockey coach. Ryan, what's going on, man?
Hey, how are you guys? Things are going well. I am really sorry about the Carolina Hurricanes. Amazing fans, but only one team can win the cup. So here we are again.
Only one team. Apologies for my slight rant there on Paul Maurice and the handshake lines. Do you have a hot take on handshake lines?
You know what? I have a hot take on Paul Maurice.
I was going to say, is it Winnipeg?
There we go.
I think Paul
go.
Maurice, I think he should coach the Olympic team. He won't. It'll be Cooper because he won the Four Nations Cup, but I do think he's the best coach going in the league right now. Now, the the handshake thing, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Just put the coaches through. That was a soapbox, but for every great quote Paul has, he finds a soapbox.
Yeah, we're familiar with that in 02 and in 09, obviously, because Mo must go twice here in Carolina with his stint. All right, so I wanted to talk to you again because I think it's time to just really hammer home the point. The Carolina Hurricanes had a fantastic season. Getting to the Eastern Conference Finals is an accomplishment in and of itself. But once you get to this point, there is a clear line of demarcation. And I kind of felt that while the Panthers and the Hurricanes play a very, very similar style, they just have better dudes. And sometimes it's that simple, right?
It is sometimes that simple. Sometimes the best players just beat you. You can have all the systems and coaching thoughts you want in the world, but when you look at Florida, they're in their heyday right now. They're a stacked team. They're an all-star team. You could put an all-star team in the NHL against Florida. Florida might win it.
And their forward depth is really what I was marveling at during this series. Last night, I felt like their stars really took over, though. You look at the Marchand goal. Well, that wasn't his goal, but you know what I mean. Off the set play, that you might as well have given that one to him.
Yep.
And then Barkov setting up for Hagee, and then Kachuk with the tip in on the power play goal, which was so important. Their first goal of the game. I mean, it's just staggering sometimes when you look at it and the depth of it, the depth of their forward strength.
Well, they do have a lot of depth, but Florida did two really critical things that I noticed in this series that allowed their superstars to go to work. And I think Carolina's got to figure out in the offseason over the next couple of years, because I understand they picked up some draft picks in that this year. There's a lot of potential and runway for the team. The first is that there's that playoff switch, and I talked about it on my channel yesterday. Certain teams have an ability to switch on something in the playoffs. That could be more violence. That could be heavier checks. It could be speed. It's pressure. In the playoffs, you got to be able to turn a switch on for whatever makes your team that team. The Edmonton Oilers, for instance, it's all speed in the neutral zone. They can't play at the pace they play at in the regular season in the playoffs. It's not sustainable. The Panthers are the same with their physicality and their ability to gap in the neutral zone. It's so aggressive. And it's devastating to both teams. It's devastating to players on both sides of the puck. And I think their neutral zone gapping play took so much time and space away from Carolina that it gave that much more space to Florida to work. I don't think the Barkov goal against Orlov works unless all of those factors come together in the series. Orlov's a good defender. Barkov's an elite player. But if you put them in that position, I think 8 out of 10 times without the playoffs, it goes 50-50. 2 times Barkov is going to win because he's elite. But over the course of a playoff like that, you get worn down, you get beat up, that time and space is taken away, and then you just get to pounce on it. And that's why I thought as the games progressed, you saw Florida putting in more and more goals later on in the game because it just pays dividends. Carolina was close. But I akin it to like a heavyweight title fight when you have the champ versus the contender. In the first few rounds, they're close. And then as it goes further and further and further, they start separating. And that's just what happened. And I think Carolina's got to find some way to get a playoff switch going for next year, whether that's bringing in certain players or drafting those types of players.
You mentioned Orlov. Our chat last night was filled with people who are convinced he was throwing the game. Jesperi Kotkaniemi was another one that people were upset with. So just give us your clinical coaching trained eye on Orlov first, with the context of playing with a new defensive partner who is new to this league, of course, talented, but still new. And then Kotkaniemi, what you see out of Kotkaniemi, who by all accounts seems to be on his way to his contract being bought out by the Carolina Hurricanes.
Look, if you want to talk all day about people thinking guys through a game, we could be here for a week. But the NHL is hard. It's a very hard game. I understand where the sentiment for a lot of the fans comes from. But when you have a guy like Nikishin who enters, who plays in the KHL, that predominantly plays big ice, not small ice. Some of their rinks are small ice. It's a different game. I don't know if the viewers will get this analogy, but it's like going from box lacrosse to field lacrosse. Anytime you change the size of the playing surface, that drastically changes how you're going to play the game. And I think it's a bigger change than more people realize. I think Nikishin is going to take seasoning in the NHL. Defensemen take anywhere from 3 to 5 years to really peak and hit their knowledge. I don't care how good they are in the AHL. I don't care how good they are in the K. And I don't say that rudely to Nikishin or anyone. you just realize that there's no replacement for NHL experience.
Yeah.
He's in everywhere else you want, but you got to get that speed at the NHL level. And I think no matter what, I had I don't know, probably 5-minute little breakdown watching clip by clip of Nikishin's, content. And I think he's fine. I think he's 2 to 3 years away. That's going to piss off a lot of people. He's not going to leave the roster.
Yeah.
To hit his ceiling that I hear people talking about, which is that 1-2 top pairing, that's going to take some time. And, I could point to a million defensemen in the NHL that's done it. I'll go to my hometown, and Josh Morrissey took him 5 years to realize his top pairing potential in the NHL. Never mind what he did in the A. So this is common. It's not weird. And I think that takes a veteran like Orlov. It can take you out of the game. You're closing a lot of gaps that you shouldn't be closing that are minor. And I think at the end of the day, that exhausts you, and you get caught in the wrong spot, and you get caught by a guy like Barkov, and he'll make you look stupid. He can make anyone look stupid. He's incredible.
Ryan, man, I don't know. Nikishin was the prince who was promised.
Yeah.
He was plug and play with.
I'm not saying he's not going to be. I know. I can't have the pitchforks coming out from Carolina.
No.
Because he could be.
I think people need to hear that, though. Defensemen, goalies, they're on a different track, man. They're just on a different track.
If you want to take a page out of Hurricanes franchise history, in 2006, the Hurricanes played the Edmonton Oilers. Chris Pronger was the best player on the Edmonton Oilers.
Yep.
Chris Pronger was drafted by the Hartford Whalers. Now, there was some immaturity and drinking issues early in his career, but it was like, wait a second, you drafted this guy and you let him go? And it's like, yeah, to Ryan's point, sometimes it takes defensemen even longer than your hot shot Eric Stahl forward to come in and make an immediate impact. And what you're saying is Orlov had to do so much extra work. Let's grade him on a curve for all of the other things he was trying to do to hold that pairing together, basically. If I could summarize.
Yeah, and I would agree. And I don't blame the fans for having the pitchforks out against Orlov. Like, you expect better. You can't let him off the hook. He needs to make that play. Yeah. But that doesn't cost you a series.
All right, power play. That's the other thing.
KK.
Oh, that's a polarizing player. What are your thoughts on Kotkaniemi? I mean, he took a bad penalty that changed the game, the nature of the game. It gave the Panthers life, and I know there's a lot of people that would not be sad to see him go.
Kotkaniemi is a supremely talented player that hasn't found the ability to play in the headspace of the NHL. That's my opinion. It doesn't mean he won't get there. He's still only 24, but I grade him a little harsher than I would grade a Nikishin, for instance. Nikishin and the defensive side of the puck, it's a much harder position to learn. Kotkaniemi is, I get he's been moved to the center role at times, but he did come in as a winger. He's had a lot of seasoning between Montreal, and he's had a lot of seasoning in under Brind'Amour's system at this point in time. Once you've played at the forward position for 3 to 5 years, what more is there to say? Like, he's talented. You got him on the roster for 4 years. You might not be able to get rid of him. He may be more valuable to you than he is not.
Nah, I mean, look, we've seen this time and again in the NHL. It might not be working out for you, but we always hear the classic change of scenery. He might not have worked out for you, but we can probably turn him around here. That exists. I can see that happening. I mean, I can see the Canes having to retain some of it, but I can see that happening where he's lands somewhere else and might have a renaissance for all we know.
Maybe. I mean, he's got a lot of talent that you like to see, but I've seen a lot of players come through just like you guys that have had a lot of talent and just don't find their ceiling. And it's simply just, it's not necessarily easy to say soft. I think that's the easy answer for a lot of fans that can't put words behind it. And I'm not being rude to them. It's just really a level of compete and understanding of where he needs to be positionally with his body. He doesn't blow anybody away right now, and I think he's underperformed.
Is this true, Ryan? You got a KK Montreal jersey?
Absolutely not. I don't have a single Habs jersey, but give that guy a gold star for the best comment of the week. Unbelievable.
Right. So the power play, that's the other thing that people have had the pitchforks out. And last night I had to catch myself when we were doing the After Dark, in that I can sit here and sort of get a little bit more fan-like and be like, stop looking for the perfect pass and shoot the damn puck. Without also taking into account, Florida did a really good job of pushing the Canes out, preventing them from being able to get up in the middle and try to get some traffic and try to get a clean look at this. But the power play has been a thing that has bugged people about the Carolina Hurricanes the last couple of years, and it fizzled out last night. So just on a technical level, what exactly is it that is not working for the Carolina Hurricanes power play beyond just, hey, man, Panthers did a good job with the kill?
The power play has become incredibly complex in the NHL in the last 3 years. We now have this weird system where, everybody's familiar with the 1-3-1. That came out of the umbrella a few years ago. People can see it was static, a lot of standing still, finding that pass to the bumper and then back out to shooters. That still exists, but it's also part of an overload strategy where you see 3 players down low. And there's a consistent amount of switching that is happening, micro movements and basic abilities to move the puck through 2 or 3 systems now. Every NHL team's doing it. So Carolina, in my opinion, needs to score. I think the fans are valid in their eye test for that. You can't have a power play go with the percentage Carolina did and expect to win a cup unless you're the Boston Bruins in 2011. But there's an exception for every rule. I mean, they didn't score until the finals when Cabriolet finally figured it out. But other than that, you need your power play to score. In the playoffs, when Kotkaniemi took his penalty, I get it. It's a call, but it's just a makeup call, in my opinion. The refs are always going to even stuff out. They love to do it. So they are just looking for a reason to put Florida on the power play. They found one. Here you go. They feel good about it. Whatever. That's a whole nother discussion. When you get your opportunities to score, you have to bury them because of that. And you have to outplay the other team's power play. The penalty kill, and I'm not going to rag on any killers because it's the hardest job in hockey.
Sure.
It's the most thankless job in hockey. But the power play guys should beat the penalty kill guys. No matter how good the killers are, and Carolina knows good penalty killing, over the course of, let's say, what did we have? 25 power plays for Carolina? I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't have the stat in front of me.
Me neither. I'm making up the
20.
numbers so someone can roast me in the comments like the KK,
No,
but you got to score more than you do.
Yeah.
And if I'm them, you got to diagnose, was this a matter of you just got goalied? Was this a matter of your system? Or do you need to bring in a player that can go ahead and put a puck in on a power play? Look at Washington. They have one trick. It's the best trick in hockey, and it works. Patrick Laine worked for Montreal until he got benched. Same trick, lesser version. Do you need to bring in a guy with a trick? Or do you need to just find a different way to get that? I do agree, though, with the moving the puck around and looking for the perfect shot in the power play.
Yeah.
As opposed to shooting. I think you always look for that high percentage chance.
You're sitting here talking about some sort of trick. Something about Rod Brind'Amour tells me he's not looking for a trick. He's looking for process. You know what I mean?
But I think the smart hockey fan can be aware that there are teams out there that can have one setup, one player, and they can score. That can be a path to success. It's not Carolina Hurricanes hockey. So to me, maybe it's a requirement of bringing in somebody else on the special teams on the coaching staff to have a different look at this. That's usually a fair step to do. I don't look for anybody to get fired, but that's a fair consideration. And if you think your guy is the right guy, then what went wrong? How are you going to generate more goals? Because you have to score on the power play at least, I think, 15 to 21%.
They had 12 power play goals this playoffs. That's the most that they've had under Rod Brind'Amour. They scored 5 fucking power plays in 2019.
Yeah.
In 3 series.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
So that's a dire situation. I thought they made progress this year. I know people, they were 0 for 6 last night. I get that. The 6-on-4 was fantastic. They just didn't finish.
Yep.
I thought there were other chances in the game where Bobrovsky was up to the test, and sometimes that happens. My problem was early games 1 and 2, they couldn't control the puck, they couldn't keep it in the zone, they didn't get any kind of looks. The way that Florida was kind of pressuring their points, I thought was something that they weren't used to. So that's as much hockey talk as I can give you there, Doc.
Game 1 and 2, that was the shock and awe system I'm talking about from taking away time and space that Florida had. Carolina took too long to adjust to that, and they took too long to play like their back was against the wall. As soon as their back's against the wall, all of a sudden they're playing like they have nothing to lose. That swagger comes back, and they're playing Hurricanes hockey. Yeah. But that playoff switch, a big part of it is you got to play like that from puck 1. Yeah. And what did it take Florida here? 5-6 years to get to the point they're at? Maybe 20 if you count all the way back to the Van Beesbrook days and the rats going on. I mean, people can talk about taxes all they want, but I mean, it was a junk organization until a little while ago And now it's the place everyone wants to play because winning fixes all the problems.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because that's actually going to be part of our mailbag episode tomorrow, in that we're getting a lot of conversation about tax breaks and everything else as though that's like the secret sauce. No, it's not that simple. Ryan, we appreciate the time as always. Hot Garbage Sports is the name of the YouTube
Thanks,
channel. I'm glad that's been probably the best discovery so far of this postseason run, is checking out your channel. We appreciate you jumping on and your help on this. And hopefully Canes fans will continue to go check out your channel. And who you got? I mean, I know the other series isn't over yet, but who you got? You got Edmonton or you got Florida?
This is not a homer. As a Jets fan, I do not. The rivalry to Edmonton runs deep, but I am going to take Edmonton and bite my tongue. That's going to bite me in the back. It's going to 100% bite me in the back. But I think Edmonton's taken that step forward. But what a challenge against Florida.
Yeah. Should be a good series.
Hey, if the Carolina Hurricanes crack through, they'll be there for a long time. Teams tend to not drop off.
Yeah, I think we'll get more of this next season. It'll be an interesting offseason because they have some clear areas they know they can improve on, and they have money. That's always the key part too. Money talks. Ryan, we appreciate it, man, and be on the lookout for your mailbox. Okay, I got something coming your way.
Not a problem, and maybe I'll be able to join you guys next year for a game down in Carolina.
We'd love that.
Yes,
we would love that, man. Let us know.
Yep. Have a great time, guys. Bye.
All right, take it easy. I would say that was a hockey break. That was more of like an educational break brought to you by Happy and Hale.
Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hale.
Big thanks to Happy and Hale. They've got their pop-up spot. I saw some people the other day playing pickleball.
Good.
People are hanging out in the little dog park. Saw a guy eating a Happy and Hale bowl. Fantastic situation.
Now that my body clock is getting to be normalized, we can get back to eating healthy and eating good.
Yeah, I need to get back. I got to get back in
a little Bueno bowl.
I need to get back in the dad bod pool shape for
hit
sure.
The spot.
Yeah. Almond Brothers might be a pick me up that I need on my way home. That's for sure. So all these things are available to you at Happy and Hale. Location out in North Hills. You got North Raleigh, Durham. Download the app. Make it super simple to pick up and go. Use that promo code OG25 to save 25% off your order. What are you laughing at? From the YouTube comments. Why can't we hire Ryan to be on the staff? We've got a blogger as our GM. Why not a podcaster as our power play coach? I mean, you make valid points. You make valid
Spot
points.
the lie.
Very, very valid points. Anyway, big
I
thanks.
mean, I'm kind of unofficially a coach anyway. You know, I mean, Rod never would have thought
the
two adjustments that I suggested. He never would have come up with them.
I cannot wait for you to tell Rod what you would have done.
Yes.
In the Eastern Conference Finals.
We're going to let that one cool off a little bit.
No. Next week.
Next week.
Yeah. I think we're scheduled to go over there for the exit interviews. So yeah, why don't you just hit him then?
Okay.
Do you think you'd be impressed with my Paul Maurice impression?
Potentially.
Okay.
Potentially.
I mean, I could do an NPR voice too, man. It ain't that hard. Big thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Check them out online at bugsbite.com. You bundle and save with Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Mosquito Authority for the outside of your home. And look, we've had Seattle-like weather with all this rain. I know that my grass has been just drowned out by all the rain, but that also creates fantastic breeding conditions for mosquitoes. Unless...
Or ants.
Unless you contact our friends at Bugs Bite. You mentioned the ants. Yeah, the call has to be made because the ants are trying to find their way in. So you can bundle and save at bugsbite.com. Speaking of homes, maybe you're in the market for a new one. You're looking for some new construction. You need all the space in the world for all your Montreal KK jerseys. MyHTR.com. Maybe you want to be a hockey podcaster and you need a studio space in your house. They can do that for you.
Speaking of great points, John, dude, JG lost the series by not giving Rice and Rod advice in advance.
That's a good point.
Remember, gave him that great Svetch advice in round one, and then in round two made sure that Jacob Slavin was on the ice when Ovechkin was. I mean, he never would have come up with any of this stuff.
Mistakes were made.
I know.
Mistakes were made in between series.
John, I own it.
That's on us. Check out myhtr.com. You can buy and sell with confidence. Let's say you buy a house, you sell a house, you got to take that thing to closing. You've refinanced with our friends at Miller Lending. There's a local spot that you can take all these closing documents, get signed, and make it official. Whitaker and Hamer. Go to wh.lawyer attorneys and counselors at law, and also with our friends at Whitaker and Hammer. Well, they got a bar, Shady's, in downtown Garner. You know what you can get at Shady's?
OG Light.
Get yourself some OG Light at Shady's. So make it happen. Check out wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer. Whitaker and Hammer, attorneys and counselors at law. Zeus in a Bra is back. Ladies and gentlemen, the ACC college basketball hoop schedule matrix is out.
Shocker. I need a fucking sounder that says Joe was right. Oh my God. I am shocked. I'm 14 steps ahead of everyone else. That is bizarre.
I appreciate that the ACC just ripped the Band-Aid off of North Carolina and NC State not playing. And I also want to commend Steve Kirshner over at North Carolina for the press release about the schedule matrix by just dropping in a classic Kirsch nugget saying, for the first time since 1919, NC State will not go to Chapel Hill to play a basketball game, thanks to this new 18-game conference slate that gives you one primary partner and a rotating partner. So for NC State, the primary partner is, shocker, Wake Forest. We called that one the oldest rivalry or something like that. No, that's UNC
Carolina,
Virginia. And then Duke, shocker, their primary partner is North Carolina. But here's where things get interesting. In the first year of the rotating opponent, home and away, Duke's is
Louisville, as it should be, because they're projected to be the two best teams in the conference.
So that gives them in-conference opportunities to bank good wins or create good matchups. North Carolina's is Syracuse.
Syracuse. Is Jim Boeheim
Syracuse
still there?
I thought
that was odd.
How do you not have Pitt?
I would have thought
Bubba Cunningham's got to be so mad it's not Pitt.
I would have thought Clemson or Virginia would have made more sense for Carolina as their second opponent.
Virginia would have made the most amount of sense for the rotating second partner, not Virginia playing NC State home and road. Why is that not Clemson?
State, Clemson, they've had some really good games. By the way, the reckoning better come this year because they get Duke and Carolina at home. State does.
Do you want my
you know what that means? You know what that means next year?
Yeah,
that means they're gonna have a home schedule next year that does not include Duke or Carolina.
Yeah.
Now, if those tickets are going to be sold, sir, you better have a reckoning this year.
Yeah,
because you're gonna have a hard time selling tickets for a home schedule in 2027 that does not include a home game against the Tar Heels or the Blue Devils.
Now, do you think the ACC schedulers were doing Duke and Carolina a favor to not have Will Wade go to their buildings and wreck them in the reckoning? Is that a possibility?
I don't know. I don't know.
No, I don't know.
You know what I think? I don't think the ACC schedulers were thinking of Will Wade.
Probably,
to be perfectly honest with you,
not.
by judging by what was drawn there.
All I'm going to say is I understand that progress is necessary. You cannot live in the past and all that kind of stuff. But the one thing that I will maintain when it comes to college basketball in particular, this is not fan-friendly. It's simply not fan-friendly. The ACC thinks they can schedule their way out of their NCAA tournament problems. That is not the reason why you're not sending 14 teams to the NCAA tournament. The reason why you're not sending that many teams and you're lucky to send 5 is because you're not winning your non-conference slate. You then create a bad math equation for your in-conference games. And that's why this ends up happening. You're also going through a transitionary point that any conference would go through when you're cycling off Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer and trying to find the right guy to replace said Hall of Famers. We can all agree that Louisville shouldn't have been wandering through the wilderness as long as they were. We can all agree.
Syracuse should not be in the situation that they're in.
Syracuse should not be in this situation. Shh. North Carolina shouldn't be a bubble team. Okay? So that is why you are where you are right now. Not because you were playing 20 conference games. And you continue to do things that are road fan service. You got to give people what they want. And I understand that there's this general idea of that it's not about the big 4 anymore, but you know what still stirs the freaking drink? Us. So why would you not provide more opportunities for those marquee matchups to still exist. It's just very anti-fan in this situation.
I'm going to counter this.
Okay.
I think what you're saying is right. Okay. I agree with you. But just as when Missouri and Kansas stopped playing and Texas A&M stopped playing, when those conference breakups happen, Nebraska, Oklahoma, if you'd like as well, there's nothing preventing NC State and North Carolina from getting together and playing a non-conference game.
They won't do it.
There's not a thing preventing them from doing that.
I agree, but
they're not. We already have word
Boo
from
and Bubba ain't doing it.
Already had word from Bubba Cunningham. That is not on their agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. So I agree that the conference was the facilitator, but I do want to point a finger here at NC State and UNC. You're going to schedule a game against Loyola, Maryland, or you're going to schedule a game against USC Upstate when maybe next year North Carolina and NC State get together and say, hey, my home schedule's not all that great. Could we please get together and play maybe in November in a non-conference game? I mean, these are the oldest ideas in the book.
They won't do it.
So we'll see what they do. I'll give them a year to maybe figure this out. But as we saw again with those Missouri, Kansas, and Texas A&M examples, once these games go away, they go away. And you're seeing a lot about this with SEC football. And I saw some people point out, oh yeah, if SEC goes up in the conference schedule and then they end up playing the Big Ten out of the league, what's that going to mean for Florida and Florida State? What's that going to mean for Clemson and South Carolina?
Gone.
I'll tell you what it means.
Louisville, Kentucky. Well, maybe that's
Louisville,
Kentucky.
But the rest of them,
they ain't doing it.
Won't happen.
Another example that this ain't your father's ACC anymore. Press release: the Greensboro Aquatic Center is selected to host the 2026 Big 12 Swimming and Diving Championship. I'm sorry.
What?
The Big 12 Swimming and Diving Championships are coming to Greensboro for the first time?
Okay.
This is not my Greensboro.
Hey, man, love the one you're with.
I guess so. If they want to come out here and do it, then by all means, come out here and do it. But, man, I was kind of surprised by that. Look at Brett Yormark trying to, disrupt ACC country.
Look at that footprint.
Oh, ACC left Greensboro for Charlotte? I'll show them. We're taking the swimming and diving to Greensboro. How about that? Speaking of hoops, Joe, I was told that big threes in the NBA are no longer a thing. The big three era is over. It's a wrap. Can somebody explain the new big three at Oklahoma City? Looking like they're on their way to potentially winning an NBA title?
I mean, they are ripping through the Western Conference. Yeah. I mean, just
the only
impressive. Really.
So they've been impressive, but what's been funny to me is this persistent talk about face of the NBA, right? And Anthony Edwards, for today was the day. I was listening to Unsportsmanlike when I was making coffee and all that stuff this morning on ESPN. And it was the national conversation for the day was, did we crown Anthony Edwards too early? The guy's freaking 23 years old. Can we let the guy develop a little bit? I don't know. We want these instant results that if they're not immediately Michael Jordan, we're like, well, clearly he's ass. Clearly that guy's trash. He's done. It's over. Moving on. But that's kind of where we're at right now because we're in the dregs. You talk about off-season protocols. I know it's true off-season protocols when I'm breaking down Kirk Cousins skipping out on Atlanta Falcons OTAs, Joe.
Oh, I thought you were going to concentrate on the pink cocaine and Stephon Diggs. It's been quite an educational process for me this week.
I did not know pink cocaine was a thing.
It's a combination of multiple drugs, apparently.
Well, I mean, I'm at the age where I probably is the pink Pepto.
Not the Pink Pony Club.
No, but is it like Pepto? Because I'm getting that rush and I'm making sure my stomach's settled. I mean, that sounds like a combination for somebody in their 50s, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, they'll help the stomach.
A little combination Lactaid and heroin. Now we're talking, baby. I've not heard of pink cocaine before, but that's kind of
I hadn't either until Stephon Diggs is on a boat with 4 women and doing things.
What was it? I think I saw a meme where
that's the Patriot way now.
It was like a superhero club, welcoming in the latest superhero, and Diggs is entering into the pantheon of number one crazy diva wide receivers. doing like acts like this, like crazy stuff.
Yeah,
man. Welcome to the club.
There are many topics for lightning rounds today on OMG.
All right. Last item in the lightning round. It's my personal favorite segment. What was Joe Giglio scrolling when he was on the toilet and he decided to send it to me for potential show purposes?
this was late.
Are you ready? It's 3 a.m. and instead of sleeping, I'm betting on if this German girl can guess the amount of water in cups from the sound alone. This is not real.
It's got to be.
And it's something called Stream Bet. All right.
314 und 395 Milliliter.
Das ist richtig. Hey. Cassie?
Ja.
Zweite Aufgabe für dich. Achtung.
Real quick, for those who aren't watching, these two glasses of water are the exact same. They cling them together.
Okay.
And then she has to decide how much is in there based on the sound alone.
2 mal 416 Milliliter.
Das ist richtig.
How the hell is she doing that?
I want to bet on her betting on this.
That's amazing. Next one. This is a Facebook reel. This is from, I'm guessing, this has to be some hustle culture bro named Dan Martell. I am not.
Oh my God, I'm not even sure because these are old because we didn't really have a
No, we haven't had time
proper
to.
show.
So Dan Martell, hold on a second. Let me Google.
Oh, this is
Hold
one
on.
of my...
Let me Google Dan Martell real quick. This guy, is this even a real podcast? Because there is a phenomenon in some of this hustle bro culture where they fake a podcast.
You're going to really enjoy
Like
this.
these don't, like the podcast doesn't exist. They just have the camera. They have the microphones. It looks like it, like somebody's interviewing them, but they're not. So Dan Martell is from Google Books. Dan Martell is an entrepreneur, angel investor, thought leader, and a highly sought after coach in the software as a service industry.
I will just tell you, there's a certain media company that should hire this guy post haste.
From the Dan Martell website, humanity's biggest cheerleader. You have what it takes. Stop playing small. Start building your dream empire. Dan Martell, ladies and gentlemen, is the #1 coach for founders and CEOs. So what kind of business brain rot am I about to hear, Joe?
No, your life's about to be changed.
All right, here we go.
I can tell how crappy a company is by the volume of meetings they have. Most
Go on.
great businesses, the quarter is baked at the beginning of the quarter. And if there is a meeting, it's really just an awareness update. The only thing that gets people paid is doing the work. No customer paid.
Was that me? Is this an AI deep fake of Giglio?
Well, first and foremost, this is not a real podcast because I don't see the interviewer and he's doing some other cutaway. So props to that.
You to have a meeting with your team. They paid you to do the work. You know what doesn't happen when you're in a meeting with your team? The work. You're working against yourself if you don't actually sit down, measure twice, cut once. Strategy, planning, reporting, prioritization, accountability. Those are all things that are missing. And I can tell because there's too many meetings.
I love this guy. Don't
It's too
judge
late
a
to
book.
save us.
Don't judge
It's
a
too late to
no,
save
no,
us.
No, we were never going to be saved. Never judge a book by its cover. I saw that guy and I thought, what? Founder mode.
I
Yada,
can't.
yada, yada. But you know what? He is absolutely right. You can judge things based on the amount of meetings somebody loves to have. Because yes, every time you're in a meeting, this is a true story, by the way. This actually happened once where it was, there was a meeting to lament that something wasn't being done. And I think, I'm not going to say who else was in that meeting with me. You weren't in that meeting with me. It was basically said, well, we could have done this if we weren't in a meeting right now. That did not go over well. That did not go over well.
I can't decide though right now if I should respect your commitment to the bit that you don't even take the time to open up the reels that I send you.
No. What's the fun in that?
Okay.
I want the
Then
reaction in real
Or
time.
should I be offended that you don't open up the reels that I carefully cultivate and send to you?
No. This is, by the way, gets to my point about meetings. This is another true story. I think I've told this story before. I might have told the story on OG Business behind the paywall. So I'll go ahead and I'll tell the story once. And Jason Dixon.
Wait.
What?
Hit the button because Nick's
What?
right.
I think we need yeah. We're having a meeting to discuss this right now? Hold on a second.
Are we having a meeting to discuss meetings? We're having a meeting to discuss meetings. Fair enough.
So, okay. I think I've told this story before, but it's worth repeating to illustrate a point about you getting somewhat offended if I don't open these. And then the first time I'm watching them is in real time because I get you send them to me, I airdrop them to Chrome, and I just have them set up ready to go within StreamYard. So this was 2010. So it was me and Adam Gold. The program director at the time is Jason Dixon. Jason Dixon now works at SiriusXM. See, if you notice, if I name you, it's all good. Now, Jason's a great dude. All right. Actually, one of my favorite PDs. And so his whole thing was, we got to have meetings with a producer, and then like, you need to know where Adam's coming from, and he needs to know where you're coming from, so that when the show starts, you all have your positions, and there you go, right? And of course, Adam and I were like, well, no. Adam's known me for a long time, so chances are he kind of knows where I'm coming from, and I've known Adam for a long time, so chances are I know where he's coming from. It's the same way you and me. Like, I'm pretty sure at some point Joe's going to say something about putting it in your ear while saying fuck. Like, I know where this is going. And I was right. So, and just like, at some point I will relate this to a Star Wars reference, or it reminds me a lot of Apple. So we argued this point. He's like, no, gotta plan these things out. So 2010, this is back when ESPN radio was at the height of its powers. They invited us out to this affiliate junket called Audio Avenue. So they gave us a little space. They gave us a little sign. Remember that sign that was in the old cubicle?
Yeah.
Adam and Joe Audio Avenue. That was from 2010.
Okay.
We got a tour of the Bristol campus. We got to eat lunch in the cafeteria. It was a really cool event for somebody like me who grew up on ESPN and just watched it religiously.
So you didn't have the reaction that I did after my first radio row where I was like, these are yours?
That's a conversation for a different day.
Okay.
Because I can also have a related conversation of this is what writers do. Anyway, so we go to a Mike and Mike seminar. Mike Greenberg, Mike Golick.
Little boot camp action.
They're talking about their process.
Yeah.
So it's me, Adam, and Jason Dixon. And somebody asked a question about their process as it relates to, like, how do you guys approach being on the opposite ends of a particular conversation? Like, how do you know whatever? And both Greenberg and Golick both said, I don't want to know where he's coming from until I hear it on the show for the first time, because you can't replicate the reaction. Because if you did it in a meeting and you had the argument there, there's no way you can replicate that disagreement, that argument, that spirited conversation, the debate again.
It's almost like you should be judged for the show.
Yes.
And not the meeting.
Yes.
Interesting. What a concept.
But management loves a meeting because that's how they look busy. Okay. Look, trust me, I had a lot of conversations about, on the factory floor. Anyway, so both Adam and I do one of these. If you're watching on YouTube, like, we're sitting here at these little, chairs and whatnot. And after Mike and Mike explain, we don't want to know what the other person's saying because we want to save that in the moment, the realness. But Adam and I do one of these, like, look over just like, huh? So these guys, the height of sports talk radio, right? If it works for them, well, I guess it should work for us. Of course, Jason was a good sport about it. He's like, okay, fine, point made. But again, I understood where Jason was coming from. As a program director, you have to also justify what you're doing and whatnot. And Jason was very, very helpful. But that was one of those classic, like, meetings for the sake of meetings for all that kind of stuff. No, we're not doing that. That was good. That was performative meetings. Oh, buddy. Whew. Have I sat through some performative meetings, man? Good Lord. You love a meeting.
That guy's my new fucking hero, by the way.
I mean, look, I'm sure if I went on LinkedIn right now, it's on some, shit, man. Like,
hey, man, throw those starfish back into the ocean. That's all I got to say.
What the Canes power play could teach
One
you
at a
about
time,
B2B
man.
sales. Like, that's all the kind of stuff. Like, I have no time for that stuff. But that, I'm in for that. Big thanks to Breeze Through. We don't have any meetings with Adam over at Breeze Through. It's like, hey, man, what's up? What's up? You want to carry our beer in the Breeze Through? Yes. Dunzo. We don't have to meet for an hour. Big thanks to Breeze Through for carrying OG Light. That beer cave's still kicking. You might be going to a show at Lenovo Center now that the hockey season is over. Maybe you're headed to the beach. Breeze Through's all over the place. Drop on by, get what you need, fill up on gas, and we thank Breeze Through for being a corporate champion.
Our last Breeze Through read, sir.
Today's it?
Today's the day. So congratulations to Adam on their sale. And again, honestly, we're not here without them and their support. So really appreciate them picking us up early from the jump, the way that they did. And, Adam is really one of those guys that when a lot of people say, man, thank you for doing what you do. And they say, I'm glad you guys are still doing it. There's not a single chance we could have done any of this without Adam. So appreciate him and appreciate their support.
Yeah. And real quick, I also wanted to thank Adam. He knows this, but obviously we want to express this on the podcast itself. I didn't realize, today is May 29th. Therefore, our next actual show would be in June. So that wraps it up for Breeze Through in that run. And hopefully we can have a continued relationship with Handy Hugo's going forward. But in terms of Breeze Through and Adam in particular, we did not reach out to Adam. He reached out to us after we got let go from Capital Broadcasting. And our first meeting essentially was, hey, I really enjoy what you guys do, and I want you guys to continue. What can I do to help? Obviously, we got to make a living.
Yeah.
So being a corporate champion.
Those were the words.
I mean, we got to make a living.
Those were
right?
the words.
And he's like,
it's funny. We probably could have named a bigger price. We didn't.
No, we didn't because we don't know what the hell we're doing.
We're trying to be fair too.
And we also are trying to be fair. And he did not hesitate. And we could not have done some of the goofier things that we've done.
Podcast festival, the food truck, his food truck.
Yeah.
Having Tom Dundon, the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, in a beer cave. All those things that we've done that have been amazing.
So big thanks to Breeze Through for being our corporate champion up until this point. And if you see them out and about, salute them for being a corporate champion. And again, hopefully this relationship can continue with Handy Hugo's because we sell beer.
We move units.
Who says no?
It is known.
To moving units. Big thanks to Keller Williams. The Donnelly team, Brian and Julie, they're going to help you out with commercial real estate. Maybe you bought up all the OG Light, need a cold storage space. Hey, they can help you out with that. Maybe you're like Giglio and you bought all that peanut butter cookie from Two Roosters.
Mm-hmm.
He's hoarding it.
Mm-hmm.
You need that freezer space. They can help you out with that. TriangleNCCommercial.com or call them directly at 919-616-8681. So big thanks to Keller Williams for being a corporate champion. Is that it? Did I get them all today? Touch them all? I think I did. Am I missing anybody? I'm tired, man.
Do we take any phone calls today?
No, we are going to take phone calls in a second.
That's nature's relief.
That's nature's relief. We'll do that in a second here. Yeah, Mosquito, Longleaf, Breeze, Butchers, Two Roosters, Hometown, Happy and Hale, Whitaker Hamper, State Farm, Roback, Miller Lending, Keller Williams. We got them? I'm tired. Let's get to some Hey Joe, shall we? All right,
there's been a Bapple sighting. I have been charged with going to get some Bapple. While I'm there, I'm going to talk to Chris about our July canning of OG Light.
Yeah, I would love it if we could have it at P Street.
Whoa, you can't give away where the Bapple is.
I think people know that if it's going to be somewhere, P Street is likely going to have. You can have all the Bapple. Dude.
I'm not going to make it.
You can have it all. Do we make an OG Bapple?
I might have OG Light right now if the youths had the Bapple.
Well, that's a you problem. I would not be letting the kids touch my beer. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's go to the OG Sports phone.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
Okay.
Who's calling our phone?
I know you have a new idea. We'll have to talk to Brian. It's a good thing that you don't have Brian's number.
Who's calling our phone?
Do you want the Nokia ringtone to go with that too? All right, we'll talk to Brian about it. No, but we're not getting rid of the jingle.
No, you just mix it
Just
up.
mix
every
it in
once a
there.
while.
Like, you can't get rid of the jingle. The jingle.
I think
is,
you play the jingle first,
and
then when you transition to the next one, who's calling up? phone?
got it. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, look, we got to continue to revolutionize the sports podcasting.
No one has ever jingled anything,
no,
or ripped off any current hip hop music.
like
before.
I put out on social media. You know, maybe the OG After Darks were the friends we made along the way with the selfie that Maniscalco had taken of you.
That was amazing.
Me, Roy Cooper, and Luke Takaka, the News and Observer,
and Roy's daughter.
And I was very much like, big thanks to everybody involved for helping us revolutionize the sports podcasting game with post-game streams and taking phone calls. Other sports talk shows should follow suit on that.
If only we had a meeting for months in advance to say, it would be a really good idea. If only. If only, Joe.
Yeah. If only we ever had good ideas. All right, to a 336.
What's up, boys? I'm a little, obviously a little sad now, but I'm proud of the effort. I want to get on here and say all the same stupid shit. Burns will have fun in player relations for some team. Orlov will have fun in Spartak Moscow. KK will enjoy his ass in Buffalo. I don't want to repeat the things about getting a 2C or a 1C or getting someone for fucking Slavin to finally compete with it. Right, D? Just to what Luke said, man, abuse some of these teams that have no cap. We got the picks. We got the space. We got the championship option to go back to the playoffs and just, this is going to be Tulski's fucking opening to the world. I'm just sad now, but I think it's going to be a fun summer.
Hot Tulski summer?
No, I think it was a great point that Luke made about the pressure points.
Yes.
The Canes are not the only team with cap space, but not everybody has it. I saw a great chart on the Twitters this morning about where Dallas is right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying go get one of their guys. I'm just saying there's cap space is going up. That doesn't mean everybody has it. So it'll be interesting to see how they weaponize not only that, but some of those offer sheets potentially again, and some of their own assets, right? I mean, who knows? I think they'll be as creative as they possibly can.
All right, to a 305.
Who's calling our phone? Who's calling that shit? Who's calling our phone?
Dally. 305.
Fellas, Florida Panthers fan here. Just hats off to you guys for the way you guys played the last two nights. Man, that crowd tonight was electric. I'm going to be so real. I was kind of scared at the end, man. Just hats off to you guys also, man. This channel is really cool. I enjoyed finding it this week and tuning in the last couple nights. Y'all keep it up. We'll see you again next year. And ask the mayor or whoever was on earlier in the show to bring Cookout to Miami, man. I need it down here. Anyways, take care.
Mayor. Roy Cooper, former governor. I asked him to sell North Carolina. He failed to mention Cookout. That's fine. But here's the thing. As a former South Floridian, I'll be happy to trade you a Cookout for a Polo Norte out of Hialeah.
Ooh.
So Polo Norte is a place where you can get Cuban pizza. They put Cuban ingredients on a pizza. You want a picadillo pizza? They make it.
Sign me up.
Dude, some of the pizzas are fantastic. They make good shakes as well. So I feel like that's a good one-for-one trade. Or at least bring me a spot that has a good, like, pan con bistec, please. Pan con bistec. Just a steak sandwich.
Bread with steak?
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it.
Cubans, very, very inventive. Tell you what, how about we put a thin slice of steak with some Cuban bread, lettuce and onions and tomatoes, and of course, little crispy French fries. That's the move.
Ooh.
That's good hangover food. So I would absolutely take that.
We're gonna have a Wednesday summer edition of the best French fries or something like that.
No. I told you what our off-season protocols are going to be.
I'm excited about our triangle good.
We're going to be doing our triangle good.
Will it be a history of triangle?
You know
good?
what?
Or will it be a
let's
brief?
Call it
history.
Tell you what. Let's call it a brief history of triangle good.
Huh. All right. I like that.
No new ideas.
I've never heard of that before.
252.
Well, the inevitable has happened. The Canes have been eliminated from the playoffs. It sucks, but I think we're going to look back at this and be like, well, we shouldn't have even made it to the conference finals. This was a team that we all thought was a playoff team, might win round one, but that's about it. And we made it all the way to the conference finals, and we won a game in the conference finals. So that's the main silver lining about this, that we were able to actually win a game. You know, circumstances be damned. You know, it's still a win. People can't call us winless in the conference finals since '06 anymore. So I think we're going to look back at this series with in hindsight that, you know, not as bad as it seemed. Honestly, my mindset has changed quite a bit. 'Cause after game 2, I was fucking furious. I was like, fuck this team, fuck Rod Brind'Amour, fuck the world. But, you know, able to win a game, able to show some fight, and, at least a little bit of fight in this game. You know, it is what it is. And Florida, I'm not one to usually praise other teams, but Florida is they're a monster. As Giglio would say, they're a war machine. And I kind of hope they win the cup. That way we can at least say we got knocked out by the cup champions. I don't know. I'm trying to find some silver linings here. But yeah, optimistic about next year. This should be a really good Canes team next year. Hopefully we can make it back to the conference finals and hopefully then actually get over the hump and make it to the cup finals. But it is what it is. It was a good season. We made it a lot farther than we should have. Yeah, it is what it is. Let's go Canes.
I love that call started with another, well.
Yeah, I got notes. Our streak is back with Wells or Whelps.
Mm-hmm.
Curse or don't, for sure. And I'm glad that he pointed out monster/war machine. Because I agree. I think Florida is.
Yeah, they clearly are. All right, to a 336.
Let's be honest. We tripped on our dicks. We should not have screwed up games 1, 2, and 3. It's the same old, same old. We get this far, and then we just trip on our dicks. We happen to win one game in the Eastern Conference Finals. Does that make us all happy? No. We need to go farther than that.
Again, when you put the entirety of the season in context, two things can be true at once. It was a good season, all things considered. They got to a point that not a lot of people expected. Once they got here, yeah, you should be disappointed that it ended the way that they did. And, you know, maybe it just further crystallizes some of the decisions that need to be made going forward. All right, one more sports phone call.
Joe's, what's going on? It's Jack from Wilmington. The room that we have to work with this off season definitely doesn't feel as tied down as it was last season. We have a great core. I know last year we had some pieces leave, and there was still some reason for optimism, but there's a lot more uncertainty. I feel like we have a little bit more certainty of kind of who we're going to be working with at the beginning of next year. But I will say, as someone who has been around for more of the modern day Hurricanes, I'm 25, so I was just a little 6-year-old when we won the Cup in 2006. So that was a lot of what I grew up hearing about. But my memories of going to games as a kid, we were pretty bad. I got free tickets multiple times just for reading a bunch of books in school. So that ought to tell you about the state of the franchise, going from getting free tickets for reading books to looking at ticket prices over $100 for the playoffs now. So I am happy that I get to see a Canes team that's competitive and that has some aspirations of winning the Cup, because when I was a kid, didn't have a lot of those aspirations. So excited about the future, grateful to be in a spot where I can be disappointed about falling short of the big goal, and excited about next year. So trying to stay positive. Go Canes, baby.
That was a very level-headed way to close out the sports phone calls. I appreciate that. Got a text to the sports phone from a 336. As a State fan, the best part of the game last night was when they showed the sweet in the club level for Carolina basketball alumni, and the crowd booed Tyler Zeller and Ed Davis. Wow. From a 252, no commentary on the game. I just want to shame the guy who threw a rat on the ice because he was born and raised in Cary, went to state, and is a Florida fan because, quote, they have a vacation home in Florida. Right? Everybody has a reason to root the way that they want to root. So be it. Jeremy Markovich over at the NC Rabbit Hole newsletter, he messaged and said he's really going to miss Dave Doran catching strays during the After Darks. Did not have
a
that
phenomenon that we did not
have that on his bingo card when it came to the After Darks. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's OG Live. Thanks everybody for watching. Big thanks to the Butcher's Market for sponsoring OG Live. We'll be back for an OG mailbag tomorrow. Send those questions in. You can leave the voicemail if you want. I know there's a couple of them related to salary caps and taxes, state taxes, and all that kind of stuff that we'll get into tomorrow on the mailbag episode. If you want to get the full mailbag episode, go to ogtrianglemedia.com. That's going to wrap it up. We will see y'all tomorrow.